Hello, everybody, and welcome to Glass to the Wall, episode 90. It's been quite a little few weeks since we've last done this, but I'm joined by Luke Hemming.
Hello.
Sandy Wilson.
Hey.
And Mike McCann.
Hey.
And this week we've got a range of topics to talk about, including limited and digital releases. We're also going to talk about streamers and how Google Stadia feels about them. And we're going to talk about celebrity actors playing characters that have already been portrayed by other characters. We'll get onto all of those topics piece by piece, but we're going to start off first with limited releases in the gaming world. Now, we're going to backtrack a few weeks here before we get onto the main crux as why we're bringing this up. But Luke, you reviewed Super Mario All-Stars Collection, 3D All-Stars Collection. What were your comments about that at the time? Do you remember?
It was a great collection, and I know that people had a lot of issue with the fact that it was a timed release, but at the time, and I still stand by this, for such a great selection of games, I think that year is more than long enough to want to purchase it. I think people have already got their idea about whether or not they're going to pick this up, and yeah, I think that they were always going to get that within that year timed. I think the question is what other games can reach that level of quality to justify it.
I think what happened was, so Nintendo announced their 35th Mario Brothers anniversary back in September. It's about 6 months. I think it ends on March 31st, so they've got about 6 months. There wasn't much lead time between the announcement and the actual release of the product, so I think maybe that's caught some people off guard, but also because these are such prime classics as well. Yeah. But have any of you guys, has anyone else actually bought this collection? Did anyone feel forced to buy it now? Sandy?
So I did feel kind of forced to pick it up. So I picked it up in preparation for my birthday, which is coming up. So I haven't played it yet, but I do own it.
Sandy's plugging for his birthday.
Yeah, and I haven't picked it up as of yet, but the closer that March date comes, the more I'm going to be thinking about it for sure.
Yeah. Would you pick it up digitally or physically?
Probably physically, yeah, just to know you have that cart.
Yeah. It is interesting because Nintendo now seem to be taking this stance with other games, including digital releases and limited releases, I should say, with Fire Emblem. So the original Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon trailer dropped earlier this week with a slightly interesting take on Smash Brothers' Melee, Roy versus Marth. There's a bit of a cheesy trailer, and then it's announced the NES version of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon is going to be releasing as a standalone product, not as part of Nintendo Switch Online. But this is a limited release. It's $5.99 US. I'm assuming it's going to be about £5 in the UK and about €5 as well. And again, this is going to be a limited time release. Do you think this is a viable strategy, Luke? Do you think Nintendo can keep doing this with their products? Are they going to lose favor?
Well, just to share what Mike said now and what Sandy have said, the closer that time comes, the closer it comes to March, the more likely you are going to be. It is a viable business strategy, but the question is, what games can you do this with? You can't do this with every Nintendo title. I think you've got to have the big hitters to be able to warrant this. But from what I've seen of the sales figures, and I think they're only going to go up closer to that March date, I think it's working for them.
And Sandy, what about you? In terms of Fire Emblem, are you a Fire Emblem fan?
I am a fan of the newer Fire Emblems. I've not played a lot of the old stuff. I did play the Game Boy Advance one that came out on the 3DS. I'm interested in picking up this version, but I don't think it being a limited release is without its problems. Like, it feels very forceful. Like, buy Fire Emblem, it's going to go away in March.
Yeah.
So for me, it feels a bit forced, really.
I think these limited time releases are definitely pushing a lot of people. I mean, Mike, again, are you a Fire Emblem fan? Is this something that would worry you? Are you going to kind of do what you've done with Mario and sort of leave it to the end?
it's definitely a similar case. Like Sandy's saying, it can feel a bit arbitrary and a bit forceful for the consumer, but it does work, sadly. And like, you know, I know it's only going to be on sale till the end of the year. You know, over the Christmas period, I might be likely to pick it up, just because I know it's going to be gone. And I'm interested to see what Marth's story origins are. And yeah, I mean, Nintendo are the masters at reselling the same product over and over again to you. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've bought Super Mario World.
Yeah, it's now just to reiterate. So Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon is not actually coming out until December 2020. It is a limited time release, and it is actually only going to be available to 31st of March. So similar to Mario All Stars as well. Now, it was actually remade on the Nintendo DS, and while that got a lot of flack at the time, I actually think the Nintendo DS version was good enough for me. Sandy, you mentioned that you had the 3DS version. Do you mean the Ambassador Program one?
Yes.
Yeah, so Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. That was the second one that was released in the West. I think it's very hard to go back to an NES game now. They have future-proofed it. So they have made some subtle changes, which is something they didn't do with the 3D All-Stars collection. If Nintendo were to keep doing this for their anniversaries, do you think that's an acceptable way to play this out? Luke, do you think if the Zelda and Metroid anniversaries were coming up, which they are, do you think having a 6-month window to buy a retro game is an acceptable business practice?
It's not acceptable, but it'll work, and I'll buy them. I think that, like you said with Fire Emblem as well, $5.99, anyone's going to take a punt on that. They've hit the right price point. They've kept it under a tenner. I didn't know that we've only got 3 months to decide this, so I feel even more forced now. And I'm not a massive Fire Emblem player, but that's kind of sold me. Like I will be getting this in December now, and if they do a Zelda one, then they can have all my money. It's a horrible strategy, I think, but they are a business, and you need to run like a business, and I think that it's going to work. It works for me, certainly.
Yeah. And Mike, do you think there's any games that you would find this acceptable, but something that you would bite right on the bullet? Because obviously you're holding off here and there. Is there a particular Nintendo franchise that if they had, we've got a limited time 3-month window to buy this, what franchise would that be for you?
I mean, Zelda is as well. It's up there, but I mean, the Marios and the Zeldas I've played so many times as well. So I am a little bit more intrigued with this Fire Emblem one because it's a game I haven't played. It's like a historic entry, in the franchise, which that sort of sways me a little bit more. So I'm kind of more interested in smaller ones. Oh, the big one to mention, of course, is Mother 3. If they did that, then no question, I'd be getting that day and date.
That's very interesting. And I mean, Sandy, we can see behind you, you've got a lot of games cases. You're probably more likely to err on the physical side of things. And to mention, so Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon has actually got a 30th anniversary special edition releasing in America, a physical edition with an art book, a sort of fake cartridge, and a few other cases and nice little additives. I believe it's going to be $49.99, but it comes with a digital code. So would you want to add that to your personal collection? I can see everything obviously behind you. Would you still pay $50 or maybe £50 to get that, but it only be a digital code?
No. The short answer. I think it's definitely something I would like to own, but missing out on having an actual physical copy of the game, it just devalues that pack to the point where it would have to be at least half, if not less than half of that price, I think, to be interesting.
Yeah. Now, we've not actually had any announcement from Nintendo of Europe to see if this is actually coming over here. I have a feeling that there's obviously a tie-up there because in part of this pack, there's a Nintendo Power collectible. I'm guessing it's something from the original coverage that they would have done on it in 1990. We're not getting that. over here. But it's interesting because actually saying that it wasn't released in the US either, so I'm not even quite sure what that would be, unless it was featured and then never released. So digital copies only, sort of transgress into that. Monkey Island. Who wants to take on Monkey Island? Luke, that seems like a topic for you.
Oh no, that's definitely my topic. Mike is the Monkey Island guru.
Well, yeah, I've visited Big Whoop a few times, and it's a franchise I love, Monkey Island, like absolutely adore. Yet still, I'm not feeling overly swayed to get the digital all big whammy package. I mean, often the thing with special editions is you end up paying more for a lot of stuff that doesn't fit on the shelf, and then you don't know what to do with it. So I often feel like a lot of remorse when I do kind of make these purchases. That said, I'm always up for playing Monkey Island again. I was thinking about doing it this weekend even.
Yeah. Now, just to confirm to everyone, this is a limited run collector's edition of Monkey Island. It's $160, releasing on October 30th, and it includes a certificate, a floppy disk, a LucasArts sort of USB stick, a bunch of pin sets, an anniversary book, and a statue as well. Is anyone else a fan of Monkey Island? Is this tickling anyone's pickle? It's not something that has sort of resonated with me in the past in terms of a franchise. I perhaps just missed out on it when I was younger, but is anyone else a huge fan?
I love the LucasArts point and clicks, and I've played through Monkey Island like Mike has. It wouldn't be something I'd pick up for the price that they're offering, but then there's a floppy disk and a statue, and that sways me. I'm totally in agreement with Mike. Is that I haven't got the shelf space. I bought the Fallout 4 pack. I think that came with the Vault Boy, and it came with the statues. I couldn't even tell you where those things are anymore. But a floppy disk, that's pretty cool. But like you said with the Fire Emblem pack as well, there's a NES cart for the price that they were offering. I assumed that NES cart worked. And I would want those things to be actually worthwhile. It's great to have them, but if they don't actually serve a function, I think I'm getting to that point now where I'll save the space on my shelves.
Yeah. Do you think this could become a norm? Do you think digital games, sort of digital special editions, are going to become the thing?
I hope not. I still want a steelbook. So give me a steelbook on any game, and for the prices that games are, I do want just that little bit of shelf space taken, but I don't think I want. Like if you look behind me, I'm limited for space as it is. I've got no room to put a massive statue anymore, but I still want that little gap to put the game in, just for ease of use. I just want to know that they're there. I can pull them out. But I'm not big on the digital only stuff.
And what about you, Sandy? Obviously, you've got a few things there behind you as well. Is there a particular special edition that you've had in the past? And I'm going to throw this to you as well, Mike. That was the absolute perfect special edition, the thing that had everything that you needed in it, had a physical copy of the game. Is there anything that comes to mind where you have that great special edition?
The sort of only one that comes to mind, certainly from recent times, is Resident Evil 2 Remakes limited edition figurine standing here. It had just this whole host of, like, here's your figurine, here's your nice steelbook case, here's your map of the police station, and a whole bunch of, like, badges, and it all came in a proper, like, Resident Evil item box. That was pretty rad. And I think had that been digital only and just come with a code, I would not have gone for it, not at all. So yeah, I'd say that was pretty perfect.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm a bit of a purist. So, like, for me, the perfect thing was Wind Waker GameCube they had like I think it was like the 25th anniversary of Zelda franchise at the time, was it? So it basically came in with a disc which had Ocarina of Time Master Quest on it, and it came with a soundtrack of a full orchestral version of everything with like all of the Zelda music from like was it Koji Kondo over the years and stuff, and it's just that just makes me happy. Good music, an extra game to play, and I don't really care about having a big, you know, package. I just like those like extras that I can sort of delve into and experience more so.
Did it all fit in the case as well?
Yeah.
Yep. There you go then.
And slots on the shelf perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been multiple sort of Zelda specials over the years. I remember the Wind Waker one where you had sort of Ocarina of Time and the Master Quest on the disc. Came in that sort of package. I think Twilight Princess had a gold Wiimote with it, or could that have been Phantom Hour?
I think it's Skyward Sword with the gold.
Skyward Sword, yeah. You're right. Skyward Sword had the gold
Motion
Wiimote.
Plus, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's right.
And then you had Twilight Princess on the Wii U that I think had a special edition with Wolf Link Amiibo and a few other things as well. Yeah, there's been a lot of special editions. I think what happened, particularly with Nintendo special editions, is that Satoru Shiobata, the former head of Nintendo Europe, when he was around, there seemed to be a lot of good ones. I remember the Fire Emblem ones, the Metroid, Return of Samus 3DS being really good. Even Star Fox Zero, which, while the game obviously got a lot of criticism, the special edition came with Star Fox Guard, the T-shirt, the Steelbook, and a bunch of other things. But noticeably, since he's gone in 2018, I haven't seen as many of those sort of special edition games. I can't really think of any special edition Nintendo Switch games that have had that same love. Maybe Mario & Rabbids, but that's from Ubisoft. I can't think of anything else. So I don't know if that was his influence or not. Okay, well, we can sort of digress now into something that has definitely hit the internet by storm, hit Twitter by storm this week. And I'm actually going to read out something very conveniently typed up by Luke, just for everybody who's not on board. And that is the fees for streaming situation. Now, a Google Stadia creative director says that streamers should have to pay developers and publishers a licensing fee to stream their games. And he's facing a lot of backlash for his statements, including from Google themselves. Now, the controversy comes from the 1 week where Stadia is finally back in the spotlight again, as it's offering a handful of free demos, including one for Ubisoft's upcoming Immortals Phoenix Rising. But earlier this week, streaming site Twitch sent out a tidal wave of DMCA claims to streamers who had used copyrighted music in their streams. And so, while doing so is against Twitch's terms of service, it's an extremely common practice for streamers. Twitch recently launched a service that offers a massive library of songs that are free to use on streams without any repercussions. But the DMCA notices are sent out for it are going back for years. Now, this is actually getting some people who are no longer stream on Twitch caught in their net. So there's a lot to unpack there. Twitch has started this situation. Someone from Google Stadia has come in, commented, saying that Twitch streamers or streamers in general should pay a license fee to the developers or publishers to publish, to showcase their games, just like how you wouldn't be able to capture live NFL footage and then just broadcast it to the internet, or live sporting footage or any other sort of thing, or you couldn't record a music concert and then just sort of live broadcast it without the sort of legitimate streaming rights. I feel like this goes back and forth quite a lot in the gaming world. Are any of you guys streamers or been streamers in the past where you feel this would be quite wholly unfair?
Sandy, you've been streaming quite recently, haven't you?
Yeah, so I kind of just started streaming around about the time, actually, that Twitch came out with these takedowns. So the first thing I did was stop using music at the start of my stream, for which I'd just been using Resident Evil 4's soundtrack because I was streaming Resident Evil 4. I feel like asking streamers to pay for a license fee would be somewhat unfair, given that one, they've bought your game, which is already giving you a little bit, and then frequently people use streams as their sort of, what is this game? Like, what is this IP? Should I be interested in it? And that usually generates quite a lot of sales. So I feel like it kind of pays for itself in a way to have this free advertising from all these people. That would be sort of my thoughts.
And Mike, in terms of the advantages that you could think of the sort of companies having their games streamed, what do you reckon to that? Have you got any off the top of your head, other than what Sandy's just mentioned there?
Well, there's definitely games that have benefited from, the relationship they've had with streamers. You wonder if games like Untitled Goose Game or Five Nights at Freddy's, we wouldn't know these names if it wasn't for streamers picking up on them early and promoting those games free of charge. So it's a really difficult one, because I think ultimately it's a mutually beneficial relationship, but it's also kind of the Super Bowl conundrum where, if you're trying to book an artist, usually you pay them a fee to play it, but with regards to the Super Bowl, the artist pays the Super Bowl money to play the Super Bowl because of the catch, the catch audience they get. But therein lies the sort of conundrum, because most people aren't Beyonce. And that goes for music as well as streamers. So I'm not quite sure. I think it makes sense, my point, but
No, you're right.
You're definitely right that not everyone is Beyonce. That is certainly correct.
Well, Luke, do you feel like this is enough to justify the fees that are not being allocated, in terms of the streamers bringing in that revenue for gaming companies?
Oh, yeah,
is
certainly.
It symbiotic?
Yeah, all publicity is good publicity. And like Sandy said, people, and Mike as well, people don't know a lot of these games. And Twitch is such an easy platform that if you're 90% in thinking about buying this game, quarter of an hour just watching somebody play it is usually enough to get another purchase for whatever company that is. I do agree on the music. I think that's fair enough. But if you're just playing a game and somebody wants to jump in and see what it's worth, I think 9 times out of 10 they're already that far in on deciding whether they want it, that Twitch is only going to help companies get that extra bit of revenue, and I think that certainly justifies the amount of fees.
Yeah, no, I mean, games like Fortnite and PUBG obviously very popularly streamed on all gaming services. A lot of these free-to-play games are popularly streamed, but I think the one that hit over the summer would have been Fall Guys. A lot of people probably wouldn't have known about Fall Guys unless it was being streamed by so many people. I would almost like to guarantee that with the popularity of the streamers and the reaction to the streamers, that that definitely encouraged sales. Nintendo have tried to go down this route as well. Previously, with the Nintendo Ambassador program, they tried to obviously claw back some of that money, but I think ultimately they've decided not to go down that road anymore. In terms of what does this make you think of Google Stadia as a platform? Has this changed your way of thinking? Is this something that you're a little bit more concerned about now? Sandy, we'll start with you.
Well, up until this happened, I kind of forgot that Stadia was a platform, so it hasn't really affected my personal opinion on it, other than I'm still as unlikely to invest in it as I was then.
Indeed. And Luke, in terms of your sentiment towards Stadia, or the way, just to let you know, this was actually a developer. He works for a part of the Google Stadia studios. He's not a creative director for Google Stadia. He works for one of the studios. It seems like he embellished slightly on his CV and his public facing sort of LinkedIn profile, which I think Google have sort of cracked the whip on him a little bit about. But does this change your sentiment towards how Google Stadia are approaching the gaming market?
It's certainly changing my idea that all publicity is good publicity. That's after hearing what Sandy said. But no, it was never going to be something I was going to invest in. But I don't think it hurts the branding of Stadia itself. Like you said, Google have distanced themselves and they've made it known that this was a developer. This is nobody directly related. But no, I still don't think that it's something that I'm going to be picking up anytime soon.
And Mike, has the damage been done for you? Is this the straw that broke the camel's back, or are you still potentially lukewarm on Google Stadia?
Well, the thing about Stadia is we joke about forgetting it exists and all these kind of things, but it's kind of it's where it's at the moment. We're forgetting that there feels like there's going to be a sea change at some point towards streaming, and they're in a good position for it. So this is why they have to renege on these kind of comments, because these are going to be the kind of relationships that they're going to have to uphold to keep Stadia going as a brand, especially as people get more casual and more people using it and streaming games through it, because ideally that's what they want for the brand. So I don't know. I'm not going to be getting it at the moment. It's a tricky one with Google as a company. I mean, they're going through antitrust issues at the moment for their search engine for unfair competition practices. So I have misgivings about investing in them on that basis with gaming. But I haven't tried the service, so it all remains to be seen. If the convenience overrules anything else, then that's where the game's going to be won ultimately.
If digital is the way that we're going, then they're at the perfect baseline for it to build on it. And like you said, they've got to keep these relationships going to make sure that they're front and center if we do go fully digital, I think.
Well, just speaking of digital platforms, just while we're here, obviously you've got Google Stadia, you've got Amazon Luna, you have Apple Arcade as well, and you've got Microsoft's Cloud Gaming, which is the latest name. I think they've officially announced that xCloud is now going to be called Cloud Gaming. So you have those four main platforms. Who do you think's winning at the moment?
I'm definitely the most interested in Xbox at the moment. I don't know if it's just those little controllers that they released which plug onto the side of the phones, but that seems like a really good solution for playing on the go and on various devices and on your phone. And we know they've got a decent first party, and they've got all of the third party on there as well. So yeah.
So
yeah.
Got one.
Oh, cool, you got one.
Microsoft actually gave this to me. Microsoft actually gave this to me at the start of the year to have a play around with. So it's the official one that they have from the Power A series. You can pick it up in the Microsoft Store in London. You're right. This is a great little nifty thing to have. I do think that with EA Play, with the Bethesda deal, which we've talked about before on Glass to the Wall, the fact that you've got xCloud, the fact that you can play on PC, it does seem like one of the better propositions. But with Amazon having obviously Amazon Prime, Twitch, all into one package as well, having Luna in there, maybe at the same price, could also be a great value proposition for Amazon. What about Apple? Anyone in the Apple market?
In my job, a lot of my learners are fully focused on the Apple side of things. They love this. There isn't a learner that I have that doesn't have an iPhone, and that is definitely the way they're going. I'm in the same camp as Mike, that Microsoft is the thing that's really interested me, but Amazon's got a better name, and that's swaying me. I'm very curious to see what they've got, but maybe that younger market, certainly from what I'm seeing, is leaning towards the Apple side of things.
Interesting. Okay. Well, then, just to wrap up with our final topic. Now, this is about celebrity people playing video game characters. Now, I remember when I played Nightfire and when I played Everything or Nothing on the GameCube, you had a few celebrity sort of covers. You had people like Willem Dafoe focusing on their own individual stories. And obviously, motion capture and everything else has come a long way since those days. And, you had even GoldenEye trying to sort of impersonate James Bond there, Pierce Brosnan even. Let's flash forward to 2020, where we've got like-for-like actors playing people. You have Batista, for example, in Gears of War. But now, you've got a new Nathan Drake. And that is Tom Holland, a fresh face. Tom Holland. Guys, take it away. What do you think to this? Luke, I'll start with you.
Really? Fresh-faced, I think, is probably the best comment I can give at the moment. I am a massive comic book fan. I think he's a fantastic Peter Parker. I think those movies are fantastic. He is a great Spider-Man. I'm sure he's got a massive range of acting ability outside of that. But he's not Nathan Drake. In my wildest dreams, I can't see him playing Nathan Drake. And this is a film that's been in development hell for years. And I always thought the thing holding it up was the false information that Tom Holland, they were holding out for to play Nathan Drake. And it turns out I was wrong, and that's what's happening, and it's horrific.
Mike, your thoughts?
Well, to follow on from that, I'll reserve. What I'll say is I'll reserve judgment until I see the finished film. I am a massive Uncharted fan, and part of the reason for that is because the characters and the toning of it is so well defined. And looking at the picture of Tom Holland kind of feels a little bit jarring when you try and line that up with your ideal in your mind. But I'll reserve judgment until I see it.
Yeah, and just before I go to you, Sandy, who would be the ideal actor in your mind then that would play Nathan Drake in this situation? Does anyone have any preferences?
I mean, that Nathan Fillion movie, he made a good case for himself, and he deserved a shake of the stick, I think, for doing that. But I don't know. I mean, the type of film it's going to end up being, I feel like it should just be The Rock playing Nathan Drake. Because there's a high likelihood that's what it will be, is the Rock movie.
Fair enough. And Sandy, Uncharted fan yourself, or?
Huge Uncharted fan. Like, I literally replayed them 5 or 6 times on each game.
And your thoughts on this?
I mean, yeah, his face maybe doesn't initially scream Nathan Drake, but seeing him in his actual outfit and everything, and seeing him and Nolan North giving each other a wry smile, I'm all for it. I'm pretty interested. To be honest, anyone could be Nathan Drake so long as they nail the humor and sort of the characterization of Nathan Drake. I suppose the only person that I would say could act who would be a better Nathan Drake would be Nolan North himself, and then they could just set it as like an older Nathan Drake. I think that would be pretty good. That'd be pretty amusing. I mean, he has the voice down, right?
Yeah, I think he's in shape, isn't he? So, like, he could certainly get in enough shape to be Nathan Drake, I reckon.
And who would you say have been your favorite adaptations over the years in terms of, obviously going from the gaming screen to the movie screen? Is there anyone that you've had? I mean, Lara Croft, perhaps, or
I'll go The Rock, Doom guy. Perfect characterization.
Ming-Na Wen as Chun-Li in the Street Fighter movie. The one who plays Agent May in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She could do kung fu professionally. She was badass. She got the hair right, and they dressed her properly. And she hated Raul Julia. I think that's all you needed. So that's the only thing I paid for. That's fine.
I think probably my favorite would have to be Jill Valentine in Resident Evil Apocalypse, who was Sienna Gilroy. Is that her name? Mm. And she was such a good Jill. Like, completely nailed the character, I think. The only thing that maybe made me go, was the fact that she was smoking, and I don't envision Jill smoking, but that's a small thing.
I asked you that question, and I can't even think of an answer for myself. Do you know what? I recently watched Rampage, and while technically The Rock's character, I don't really thinks it's part of the game series. I actually played Rampage when I was younger. I do remember playing it, but I did quite like that. But I guess I don't watch too many sort of gaming to movie adaptations. And when it goes the other way around, I don't think there's no wrong, really. You know, like Tom Holland as Spider-Man, in terms of Spider-Man the game, for example. You know, the remaster, they've done a few things to change it up in the PS5 remaster. You know, I do think that now photorealism is coming its way. There's a very good in between crossover that I think eventually there's going to be one that marries up to both having a concurrent movie and a current game series that happens more often. I guess there's more time to tell. Okay, and just as our closing comments, what's everybody playing right now? What's everyone sort of steaming their way through? Luke, have you got any sort of games that you're playing through?
Final Fantasy 12 at the moment. Finishing that one off, ready for the next installment. I think it's the only one of anything past 7 I haven't finished yet. So that is currently grinding away behind me.
And Sandy, what about yourself?
So I'm powering through Yakuza 5. I've been blasting through the whole series on PS4, and I'm 60 hours in. I've barely got 10% completion or something like that. So it's a long way to go.
It's a long way. And what about you, Mike?
I'm also playing Final Fantasy 15 though. I'm not a huge Final Fantasy guy. I haven't really played many of them since the PlayStation, 7, 8, 9. But I saw this was on Game Pass, and I thought I'll give it a go, and I'm enjoying that at the moment. Yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. I'm actually still going through Super Mario 3D Collection, believe it or not. I'm still on Mario 64. I'm determined to get all 120 stars before I move on. It's going to be a little while yet, I think, for that. But I know the first 60 stars off the back of my hand, and then for some reason the sort of upper levels, like the big small world and the wet dry world, I seem to have forgotten how to get a lot of those stars. I'm sort of having to revisit them almost as if it's the first time. So, yeah. Okay, then. Well, everybody, thank you very much for joining us for episode 90 of Glass to the Wall. Be sure to comment below. Let us know any topics that we can talk about in the next episode. But for now, join us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and cubed3.com, as well as follow us all on Twitter if you've watched this far. Luke, what is your handle on Twitter?
I am at Lem207.
And what about you, Sandy?
I'm at Squidgy Buffalo.
And Mike, yourself?
I'm at Move Matter without E. I think.
And I'm at Flynn Neal with there's 3 N's in the middle, believe it or not. So yeah, good luck trying to find me, because everyone always only puts 2. But for now, everybody, thank you very much. Enjoy your week. Have a good one.